And then I am going to show my screen here. Awesome. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us as we announce our Zero Peaks Challenge and that prostate cancer can take a hike. This is always where I have my challenge. I wanted to give a quick session overview. So we'll talk a little bit about zero prostate cancer for those of you who may not know about us, a little bit about why we're going to climb up Mount Kilimanjaro. Then I'm going to turn you over to my friend Donovan with Embark Expeditions, who's going to talk about what you really all want to know about, which is what does the hike look like, all the questions about getting up to the top, what supplies you need and what you're going to see and what you need to know along the way. And then we'll come back to talk about all the stuff that you need to know about, getting involved and signing up and registering to be a part of it. But I wanted to start with who Zero is. For those of you who do not know us, my name is Tracy Cesaretti. I'm the VP of events here at Zero Prostate Cancer. And we are the leading national nonprofit with the mission to end prostate cancer and help all who are impacted. Zero advances research, provides support, and creates solutions to achieve health equity to meet the most critical needs of our community. Who we are fighting for, as many of you know, there are more than 3.3 million prostate cancer survivors currently in the United States. In this year, more than 300,000 men will be told they have prostate cancer, and 35,000 of those men, or 35,000 men, will die. Black men are almost twice as likely to be diagnosed and die from prostate cancer than white men, and 1 in 5 veterans will be diagnosed with prostate cancer. So we have a mission first strategy here at Zero Prostate Cancer. Our goal is to reduce late stage diagnoses, to improve patient quality and quantity of life, and decrease the mortality rate. We want people to die with prostate cancer, not from prostate cancer. And the impact that we've had over the past 20 years that Zero's been around, we've increased the funding from the Department of Defense from 80 million to 110 million. We've provided more than 4.75 million to local programs for detection, support, and research. We've helped pass new laws in New York, Maryland, Rhode Island, Illinois, Oregon, and Kentucky, and many of those were actually passed during this past year during 2024. That eliminates the patient's responsibility associated with prostate cancer screening and the PSA test from insurance, so that there's no copays. We have provided over 7,000 patients with personalized assistance through our 0360 program, which has come to having more than 8.9 million in debt relief to those patients. And we serve over 800,000 patients and caregivers through our website, webinars, and patient support each year. And then Dan from Tolmar was unable to be with us tonight, but he'll be joining any of you who end up signing up and being a part of our Zero Peaks Challenge. Tolmar has agreed to be our corporate presenting partner for the event this upcoming year. And the awesome part of it is Dan has gone up Kilimanjaro. He'll be going with everyone, but every dollar that is raised by you or that you donate will only go to support Zero Cancer's mission, because Tolmar will be funding the entire trip for everyone. And then I want to show a quick video, and then I'll get you to exactly what you guys want to know, which is you want to hear from Donovan and hear all about the exciting portion of the trip. So I'm going to show a quick video that you may have seen on the website when you came onto our website, but I want to just show it quickly here.
We're talking about living with prostate cancer or living with cancer in general, is that it's not enough just to live. We want to thrive. So at Zero, when I looked around a room and I said, yeah, we're going to take some people to the roof of Africa. When we are trying to be bolder and bigger and stronger, wouldn't we try and do something that's bolder and bigger than we've ever done before? And we really hope that what you'll experience is the power of community as you train and fundraise, the power of people pushing you to do things that you didn't think you might be able to accomplish, because that kind of empowerment you cannot get if it is easy. That power is unmatched. It's the very definition of thriving, not just surviving. Join me as we hike Mount Kilimanjaro and we tell cancer to take a hike.
Okay, awesome. So I am going to stop sharing my screen and letting Donovan get on, and he is going to talk to us all about what you can expect while you are in Africa in September.
All right, good evening, everybody. Nice to meet all of you. My name is Donovan. I actually used to live on Mount Kilimanjaro, 2002 and 2003, and I've been planning expeditions on Mount Kilimanjaro for over 20 years now. So tonight, I'm going to take you through what to expect climbing Africa's highest mountain. I guess my screen looks great and everybody looks perfect, right? Perfect, great. Yeah, so I've been leading tricks for more than 20 years, including living at 5,000 feet up on the mountain. I live and breathe everything Kilimanjaro almost every day of my life. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Donovan at embarkexplorationco.com. So what I like to do is show people what Kilimanjaro looks like to begin with. This is actually Mount Kilimanjaro from the top of the hotel that you might be staying in if you decide to embark on this journey. This is the classic view on the opposite side from Kenya, looking from Kenya from north, south, back, and that kind of iconic view that we have of Kilimanjaro from the Lion King with the acacia trees and the elephant. And then this is, again, what it looks like at 14,000 feet on Kilimanjaro. So if you can think of a 14,000 foot mountain in the United States and put another 5,000 feet on top of it, this is what Kilimanjaro is. So I'm going to show you a brief 60-second movie about it, and then we'll keep going.
Mount Kilimanjaro has an effect on this entire region of Tanzania. It's a rainforest. Ferns are 8, 10, 12 feet high, green everywhere. One minute you're walking in trees and they're dripping wet. The next minute your vistas are extended because the vegetation is lower. It's a huge mental and physical challenge.
I've climbed Kilimanjaro over 300 times. I like to share my life with people. I enjoy helping people, seeing their dreams come true.
His crews have always been well-trained, well-equipped, fully capable of moving a lot of people up the mountain.
When people book the trip, I start arranging, sorting out things. I have a list of all the things I need day by day.
There's a relationship that develops of trust, providing the experience and expertise that allow relatively unexperienced people to reach success.
All right, that's Kilimanjaro, and that just gives you a high-level overview of kind of what to expect on the mountain. So as we were saying, Kilimanjaro is a huge mental and physical challenge. I've done this long enough to know that sometimes it's difficult for everyone doing this. Even though that there's no technical equipment that's involved with this, it's still a huge mental and physical challenge. You're sleeping outside for more than 7 nights. You're starting at 7,800 feet and you're climbing to 19,341 feet. You're hiking 42 miles. It is a huge mental and physical challenge should you decide to do it. This is kind of the most important slide if you do decide to do this trip. This is the one you want to take a picture of and remember. This is kind of what it looks like to climb the mountain. So you're going to basically arrive at the airport. We're going to pick you up and we're going to take you back to the hotel. You're going to go to sleep. The next day, you're going to wake up. You're going to meet the guides and we're going to look through all of your gear and kind of what to expect. The following day, we're going to drive to 7,800 feet on the far western side of Kilimanjaro, and you're going to spend 6.5 days walking up and a day and a half walking back down. And you're going to go back after you walk back down to that hotel. And then the following day, you're going to fly home. So you need 11 days and 10 nights in Tanzania in order to do this adventure. The dates for this climb is September 20th to September 30th of next year. That means the climb begins on the 22nd and ends on the 29th. You do not need to get here earlier than the 20th, and you are welcome to leave later if you want, but you do not need to. So September 20th to September 30th, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Here's kind of another picture that I like to show people of kind of what to expect. Starting on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see that we're kind of coming up the mountain this way on the left-hand side of the western side. We're coming around the southern side to this camp called Barafu. We're going to go up to the summit of Kilimanjaro, come back down to Mweka camp, and then out. Well, a few things you'll notice is kind of the elevation distances, usually 1,000 or 2,000 feet of elevation gain per day. We have an acclimatization hike between Shira Camp 2 and Barranco Camp, where we go up to 15,000 feet, back down to 13, come across the southern side and go up. This final 3 miles, which I'll show you in another minute, the final 3 miles to the summit will take 7 hours to do a 3-mile hike. And this is, again, one kind of final picture of looking at Kilimanjaro. So where the red line meets the green line, it's going to take you 3.5 days to get to this part. So it's it's what we call an approach mountain. And then as we come along the southern side, the base of the mountain, day 4 is about right here. And day 5 and day 6 is where the green line meets the light blue line. That's the base camp. That's called Barafu Camp. The blue line is the 3 miles to the ridge of Kilimanjaro. The purple line is to the top, 19,341 feet. And then we'll come back and descend all the way down the light blue line. So again, it's a 42-mile hike. It's an expedition style trip. That means you do not carry anything. You carry your water and you carry your rain gear. And we carry all the rest of your stuff up the mountain. So if we have a group of 10 climbers, we're going to have more than almost close to a 60-person support staff. So this is an expedition style trip. We have someone who just carries potatoes. We have someone who carries eggs. We have frozen coolers with a meat. There's a very complex expedition style trip that you will be a part of and you'll get to witness as you climb up the mountain. So as you can see, here is our little group. We have a group of, I think this was 12 climbers. And as you can see, we have a small army of men and some women porters that help get you to the top of Kilimanjaro. All of these porters right here and guides, they're my family. I've been working with and known a lot of them for more than a decade, some even longer. So up on Kilimanjaro, what can you expect? In general, Kilimanjaro is a moderate mountain. It is 3 degrees south of the equator. It is not like a Denali style mountain. A lot of times it's very, very dry. This is at 15,000 feet on the mountain. You can see a few of the tents right here. You can see one of the mess tents. If you look right here, here's our toilet for the group. Here's one of our cooking tents. So this is what it looks like with a big group headed up the mountain. Again, we had a 10 or 15 person group. We might have 60, 70 other people supporting your adventure to get you to the top. So again, as I mentioned, what do you carry? You'll just be carrying a day pack with your water. As you can see, this group right here, this is on day 3.5 or day 3 on Kilimanjaro. They're hiking across the sheer plateau. It is only 1,000 feet of elevation gain that day, but they're just carrying day packs. And you can see our guides here walking across the front, in the front. So what do you get to bring? You get to bring one bag like this. This is a North Face extra large duffel. And in that duffel, you can bring 32 pounds of gear. And here's what that 32 pounds kind of looks like. Essentially, you're going to pack, with the exception of your undergarments, you're going to pack usually about 2 of everything. So we have a sun hat, a warm hat. We have 2 sets of gloves, a few different shells. We have some thermal underwear. We have a sleeping bag. You do not need to bring a sleeping pad. We provide sleeping pads now on Kilimanjaro, but this is what you bring as you go up the mountain. And again, that is carried for you. So what is the hardest part, and why is Kilimanjaro why is Kilimanjaro called everyone's Everest? Well, I always say to people, Kilimanjaro is a series of day hikes followed by maybe one of the hardest hikes in your life. And one of those hardest hikes is going to be starting at midnight and going up to the top. It's going to be a 12 to 14 hour, 16-hour round trip hike to get up to the top and all the way back down. But you're going to start walking in the middle of the night like this young woman right here, usually with 3 layers of clothes, definitely way below freezing. And you're going to start this hike in the middle of the night. You'll be starting at over 15,000 feet, but you have to climb 4,000 feet in the middle of the night to get to the top. So you're working your way up the mountain. Summit night, again, is the hardest 12 to 16 hours of your life. It's magical, it's amazing, it's difficult, it's everything in between. I've seen all sorts of people make it to the top if you follow our training plan, which I'll discuss in a minute. If it's windy, you might only take a break, 3-minute break every hour for 8 hours, 7 or 8 hours. Hopefully it's not windy, hopefully it's dry, and we get up to the top. But as we slowly get up to the ridge, and looking back right here, you can see another one of Kilimanjaro's peaks, and you can see all the clouds below. We get up to the ridge, and when the sun's coming up, and we're starting to warm back up and realizing we're going to get to the top. And again, notice those clouds. Those clouds are probably at 14,000 feet. And this is that final thing we're doing in the middle of the night, the 3 miles that's going to take 7 to 8 hours to get to the ridge. We're going to try to get up there right when sun rises, but that's not the top of Africa. The top of Africa is right over there. So we're going to come up at 18,865 feet, and then we're going to spend about 45 minutes to an hour walking over to get to the highest point in Africa to have that magical experience with your community. Here's a number of pictures. I won't take you through them all, but you can kind of see different groups of people that have been with us over the years. And I'm going to show you, as you'll notice, a lot of the ground is dry in most of these ones, but I am going to show you a couple with snow. Here's me actually with a group, and this is me with a white hat, but this gentleman turned 70 on this trip next to one of the Kilimanjaro glaciers. I'm just going to show you what it might look like when you're walking on the mountain here in this next slide. So the top of Africa. This is what it looks like. As you can see, this gentleman right here next to the glaciers. We come to the top of Kilimanjaro not only for the challenge, but for the glaciers as well. People often ask, what's the average amount of time on the summit? I've been up there for 15 seconds. I've been up there for an hour and a half. Average amount of time is 5 minutes. Why is it 5 minutes? It's often very cold. People often don't feel well. The weather system changes very quickly on Kilimanjaro, and we have 7 to 9 more hours of hiking getting back down. It depends. Hopefully, if it's a nice day, we can spend 20 or 30 minutes up there. It just depends, but on average, it tends to be about 5 minutes. So climbing up is not the hardest part. The hardest part is also for the descent. The descent is 9,000 feet in one day. So a lot of older people who come on these climbs, they're not worried about going up. They're worried about coming back down. So when you start the descent right here, this is what's called scree, like little pebbles that can get into your boots. You're going to start walking down this. It can be mixed with snow and ice occasionally, but we have to hike back down to this first arrow, which is 15,500 feet. That's where we started right before, right? We're going to hike back down to there. You're going to get 1 hour to sleep and 1 hour to eat, because remember, you woke up at midnight and started this hike. And then we got to descend all the way back down to 10,170 feet. Everyone's always says, Donovan, why do we have to descend 9,000 feet in one day? And I can tell you, it's because you feel a lot better under 10,000 feet, because that's the way that the park was designed. And if we stay anywhere higher, it's windy. And so we want to get out of the wind. We want to feel better. We want to wake up the next day and have 4 to 5 hours going out through the jungle. So how do you train? How do you do this? Usually you need 3 months of training, preferably 4 to 5, especially for people that I would say that are over 65 years older. You need 4 to 5 months of training. I can tell you, we usually have lots of people in their 50s, 60s, and last year in the 70s, we maybe had people in about 20 people. You need to focus on cardiovascular based workouts, running, walking, hiking. You don't need to do a lot of strength training for this, but running, walking, hiking are the core hiking elements. And I'll show you what that training guide looks like. This is a framework. This is not an exact science. This is a framework, and many people do not reach this level of training. But what I can tell you is if you can work toward these, look at week 14 and week 15, look at some of these hiking, 5-hour hike, 25 to 3,000 feet of elevation gain, 25-pound pack. If you can work toward this style of hiking, which is doing a hike on a Saturday, 8, 9, 10 miles on a Saturday, and doing it again on a Sunday, 8, 9, 10 miles, because Kilimanjaro is a series of day hikes followed by an incredibly hard hike. And so you want to be able to hike multiple days in a row. So again, these are the climb details, as I mentioned. And just remember what we provide here at Embark. We provide a comprehensive pre-trek information materials, gear list, training plans, video tutorials. We'll do 2 group conference calls prior to this trip with the group. And we're responsive, passionate, and we have a lot of background in everything related to Kilimanjaro, getting all types of people up the mountain. So this is me. This is my core group of people. If you do decide, you also meet Carrie. She is my wife, and she'll work with you on this trip as well. And these are my core guides up on Kilimanjaro. And the last thing I have to say about them is most of these guides have 300 summits. Most of them all have 300. This gentleman, Frederick Tarimo, he has over 400 summits. So you're getting high quality guides with lots of experience, generally in their 50s, some in their late 40s, who've been on Kilimanjaro all of their life. So with that said, I'm going to let it go and I'm going to send it back to Tracy.
Awesome. Donovan, do you want to answer questions now that people might have about yours, and we'll go into my stuff again?
I don't know. I mean, yours is kind of more important, right?
Okay, perfect. I'll keep going and we will leave time for questions. So write down your questions, guys. Get ready you're going to be able to ask them in a few minutes. I promise I will be quick here with mine. Okay. Thank you, Donovan, again. So who all is ready to go? Now, obviously, we know what we're doing. We know where we're going. We know about getting to the summit, how we're going to use the restroom, and how we're going to eat while we're up on the mountain. So let's hear how we're going to get to Kilimanjaro. So obviously, as Donovan said, our dates are September 20th through September 30th. The hike starts on the 22nd, and you will fly home on the 29th. Fundraising requirements to go will be at $12,000, 500, and we are limiting this trip to 25 total participants. 25 total participants, which will not include Courtney Bugler, our CEO, will be going up on the inaugural hike as well as I said, Tolmar, who is our presenting sponsor, will have a few members of the Tolmar team joining us as participants. They'll be right there with you, climbing up to the top and acclimating, as well as we plan to bring a video crew to document the trip up, our first time that Zero has ever headed to the roof of Africa. What's included? You're probably asking, what am I getting for 12,000? I'm raising all this money. What all am I getting? Obviously, you're getting Donovan and his great services and his expertise staff, and you're not having to carry a full bag full of stuff, because his team is carrying everything up the mountain except for your water bottle and your rain gear, as he said. Zero will provide you with a 3-in-1 shell jacket that is branded with the Zero Peaks Challenge logo, a hat, and a technical shirt. We will provide up to a $2,000 airline stipend through our travel agent. So you'll book travel through Zero's travel agent, and we'll be able to get you out to Kilimanjaro for that. We'll provide ground transportation, or Donovan's team will provide ground transportation to and from the airport in Tanzania to the hotel. So you won't have to worry about making sure that you have the right transportation. It'll be private transportation straight from the airport to the hotel. Park entrance fees are included. The lodging accommodations will include the 3 nights in the hotel, as Donovan spoke about, and 8 days up on the mountain in a tent. All the meals on the trail will be provided by Donovan and his team. I have our newest staff member here at Zero, Brianna, is on this call, and she will be your dedicated fundraising coach. She will be able to answer all of your questions, and she'll become your day-to-day contact, and she'll be working very closely with, as Donovan said, his wife, Carrie, on making sure you have all of the paperwork and all of the stuff you need to ensure that we can get you to Africa and ready to go. She'll be working through the comprehensive training program that Donovan and his team provides, to make sure that you guys know each week exactly what is in that training plan, and working through questions and anything that you will have, as well as, obviously, it's a once in a lifetime chance for you to make an impact an impact towards prostate cancer and to be able to say you went to the roof of Africa. What is not included? So the only thing that's not included is the tips and gratuities for the porters. So that staff who's carrying your bags and all the food up the mountain, we need to tip them and thank them for coming, or thank them for all of their services and help. You will need to be able to provide your own and receive international medical and travel insurance to ensure that you are able to get there and receive any treatment that you may need while there if anything were to happen. Obviously, personal expenses. And I know that there are some people are going to say, I may never go to Africa again. So if you want to go on a safari or you want to do other things while you're in Africa, that will all be at your own cost during the free time that you have in Moshi. What do you need to do next? You're saying, I'm ready to go. Tracy, what do I need to do? You're gonna commit to raising the 12,500. We have an application form on our website that you will register for. It asks a handful of questions, and then Brianna or myself will reach out to you to ask some, to verify your answers in that. At the time in which you are selected to join us on our inaugural hike, you'll need to donate at least $250 to say I'm in. And then through that, you'll be filling out an official registration form and a participant contract with us that covers a whole bunch of stuff, including that you've committed to raise the $12,500, that that, depending on weather, certain things happen. All of that goes into that contract so that you are aware of kind of what you're signing up for, and that will be signed electronically through us. And then once you get through that process, you're able to start fundraising. You'll meet with Brianna to create a fundraising plan. We'll be able to get you started and get you going and be able to provide you tips along the way. And you'll know you're making the difference in the fight against prostate cancer. And as we said, every single dollar that you raise or you donate will go towards Zero's mission. There is no overhead it costs in this trip. So this is my final slide. Obviously, this is a photo. This could be you in one of these tents in about 9 or 10 months from now. You could be at on Kilimanjaro, on the mountain, on your way up, getting ready to head to the summit with Donovan and his team, and knowing that you're making a difference in the fight against prostate cancer. And with that, I will stop sharing my screen and I will open it up so people can ask any questions that they might have.
Yes, Bob.
Question. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Bob.
Yeah. I live in Houston. There is no altitude here. How do I do altitude training?
Yeah. Well, one thing I can tell you, Bob, is we have lots of people from Texas that come on these trips, and they always start with that there's no hills where they're from. So typically,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So typically what we do is we ask you to hike, but we ask you to hike with a backpack and you put water in it. So you'll take milk jugs full of water and you're going to use that to slow you down. That's typically what people do in the flatlands.
Okay. I've been at 11,000 feet before, yeah. And I had no preparation for that. And I thought, oh, great. It's not affecting me. That was a big mistake.
Yes.
And so I'm very leery of being at 0 feet and just carrying a heavy pack for altitude training.
You're leery of carrying a heavy pack with no altitude?
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to start with that, and that's just
no. I'm leery of it as being a good source of training for altitude.
Yeah, well, that's the best thing that you're going to do. You can't necessarily always train for altitude. We do occasionally have people try to fly to Colorado or somewhere to do stuff, but altitude affects people differently every time. And what I can tell you, having done this for 20 years, I've had a lot of people who don't train at altitude, who don't train on hills, who walk steps and live in Florida and the whole thing, and they do just fine. We have 6.5 days to do this trip. A lot of people do it in 5.5 or 4.5. So the way our success rate this year would say 250 people is over 92%. We're going. Okay. So we have a philosophy on Kilimanjaro. It's called pole pole, which means slow, slow. So we go slow and we drink water and we take our time. And that's
Okay.
how it happens. There's no
One
speed.
other question
Yes.
for, not for you, Donovan. Okay, we sign up the application form and we need to make a $250 contribution. When does that contribution have to be made by?
So in order to apply, you don't have to put any money down until you're ready, we're gonna have you apply first, Bob, and then
Yeah.
we're gonna go through all the applications. We're going to start to admit people about 2 weeks after applications flow in. So we had a webinar about a month, or an info session about a month ago. Those people have flown in. They're about to get accepted into the program as we've done phone calls and that with you. The 250 would be donated upon acceptance of going up the mountain. So what it does is it allows me to it allows Brianna to hand you over to Donovan's wife, Carrie, who will then get your visa and all of the paperwork that needs to be done. And then there's milestones along the way from that 250 that takes you to different milestones along the way, so that what we don't want to have happen is you get to April, you've only raised the 250 because that's what you donated. We want to make sure that we're working towards the goal so it doesn't become an overwhelming goal at some point.
Okay, so it's okay if I make the 250 contribution in, say, January?
As long as there's still space. So in order to reserve your spot, you will have to make the donation.
Okay, because it's part of my RMD. And I've already made my RMD for 24. Okay, and as a matter of fact, the 12,500 may be a majority of my RMD. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
No problem. And then I saw we had another question in here. So Florine, if I'm pronouncing your name, I completely apologize. I am terrible with names and I am terrible with pronouncing normal words to begin with too. So what happens if you fall a bit short of your fundraising target? You will, at about a month prior to leaving, so at the beginning of September or the end of August, you will be required to hit the fundraising minimum in order to go on the trip. So we will charge, your credit card will be charged whatever the difference is that you have not hit at that point. But you will have had, as I said, you will have had every 3 months or every month. If you're falling short and you're nervous, you will be meeting with Brianna or myself, and we will be walking you through ways to get you there. You will not be left behind. You will know well in advance that you still obviously have whatever is remaining to hit is still sitting there. You know what it is. You'll be doing regular meetings with us, and we'll be working through the entire coaching and giving you ways in which we've done it. We have many of people that we have coached over the years. Brianna comes to us from the Ride for Roswell, which is a huge bike race up in upstate New York, and she has coached over 800 people a year to hit fundraising goals throughout. We've had gentlemen who have raised money for zero over the years to the upwards of 30,000, where it's just a few simple tips, and all of a sudden people are able to hit those numbers that they're trying to get to. What other questions?
I'm gonna pick on somebody if I don't get a question.
Hey, I have a question. Actually, it's teacher. I'll get off mine. In terms of, let's just say worst case scenario, the weather is not happening, which I'm sure you guys have planned this time frame for the weather to be perfect.
Yep.
What happens?
Well, September is the driest month on Kilimanjaro always. It's our most popular month. So in that scenario, it's highly unlikely that we'd ever have any kind of weather scenario. In 20 years of doing this for thousands of people, I've had it happen twice. So I would not suspect anything like that would happen. Again, Kilimanjaro's very moderate based mountain. And it generally does not snow.
When it happened, what did you do?
We go back down the mountain.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And the cool thing about Kilimanjaro that's compared to other parts of the world is it's easy to get to the bottom in one day. And the Himalayas, not so much. And the Andes, not so much. In Kilimanjaro, I've been at the summit and down at town in a long 12 hours. So we can get down quickly if we need to. Kilimanjaro is not an active volcano. No.
So do you use the altitude medicines? Do we recommend that or what?
Yeah, so people use Diamox. It's a personal choice, and there's different schools. There's different schools of thought. We tell people to bring Diamox. Some people take it before they start going up the mountain, and some people take it when they get altitude sickness, and some people don't even take it at all. I've done them all. They work.
Hmm.
And so generally, I would say 60 to 70 percent of the people are taking Diamox on the mountain. It's a simple prescription from your doctor.
Okay. So, you know, I consider myself fairly fit, but not clearly for this endeavor. You're going to get a bunch of old guys signing up for this.
Yeah, I
I
can
mean,
tell.
you mentioned one guy of 70. You could have most of the 25 being 70 or plus. I mean,
Right.
how does that roll in?
I didn't mean one guy. I'd say we probably had 20 to 30 70-year-olds this year.
Okay.
This year. So we're comfortable with that. And again, the problem is not so much getting to the top, it's getting back down. It's the, it's the
Are you comfortable with a 75-year-old?
if you can prove to me that you know that you're training for it, taking it seriously, and you're gonna take it seriously, yeah, I'm comfortable with it. It's not you're not the oldest.
Is there a link to the training program? I'd like to take a closer look at that. Is that something that we can get?
I will pass it on to Tracy and she can give it to you. But yes, if you just also just reach out to us as well. Yeah.
Okay. And how many people have committed already?
I can answer that. We have, as I think I said earlier, there are 4 people that have committed and will be registering. We've done the phone calls with them, and they are being committed. They are being admitted most likely over the next week or two.
So 21 spots left.
There are 21 spots left. Yep.
Okay.
And if I could say something about fundraising, I've done this forever. I worked for the American Cancer Society, Michael J. Fox for Parkinson's, kidney donors. This is an easy one to fundraise for. I mean, it used to be you go do a marathon, you say, "Hey, sponsor me a marathon." You're going to the highest mountain, climbing the highest mountain in Africa. It's got a nice ring to it. So it's a little bit easier. And you actually do a lot of fundraising in the final month and the 2 weeks. One of the cool things about Kilimanjaro also is you can actually text, and our guides send us pictures in real time on WhatsApp, and we're posting them online or sending them to your family. Yeah, we've done Facebook Live. You can call and be on the phone and text and do all that while you're up there, and people are like, "Wow, I'd like to donate. This is pretty wild."
So, Don, I'm a vegan. What does the food plan look like?
Well, you're in luck because we have lots of vegans, and our site director, the gentleman you saw at the beginning, who's Tanzanian, is also a vegan. And so we've got a full vegan menu, and it's absolutely wonderful. So if you'd like to see a vegan menu, we're happy to give it to you. We can do vegetarians, all of it. And the food up on the mountain is pretty good. It's not like typical mountain food. We've got full-on cooks. We'll make pizzas. We'll make tacos. If you want to eat local food like ugali and beans and rice, we can do that as well. But we serve you 23 meals from scratch, and all those 50 porters that you see that would be coming up with the team, they're mainly carrying food.
So I have to admit, I'm most apprehensive about this fundraising thing since I've never done this. And is there some, I appreciate what you said, but from Zero's perspective, what is it you think that's going to help us get over this? Because I don't even know how to begin.
Yeah, so Greg, well, obviously, I mean, I'm happy to talk to you offline tomorrow too and walk you through. We have a participant guide that has all of the different tips and tricks. It's obviously sharing and sending emails to family and friends. Most likely the people that you know are going to be the ones who support you. But if you, I'm going to quote, we had a few people this year that had never fundraised before for the New York Marathon. And they called me one day and they said, "I've never fundraised. I didn't think it would be this hard." And I said, "Oh, did you do this, this, and this?" One of the things was they posted on one of the networks where they knew people. It was either in social media or they sent a text out to everyone in their phone and they shared the page and they go, oh, my high school friend who I haven't talked to in 30 years donated $500 to me. As Donovan said, when you say you're going up Mount Kilimanjaro for the first time, if you share why you're doing it, so it's really sharing your story is one of the key pieces too. Are you doing it because you're a survivor? Are you doing it because you have prostate cancer? Are you doing it because your father or a loved one died of prostate cancer? Once you share the why, normally people are happy to give to you. And we've seen people over the years raise. I had a gentleman this year who said, I don't think I can raise more than $1,000. I said, just see what you can do. And he raised $35,000. He had one friend who said, I have prostate cancer. As we all know, there's a stigma to sharing about prostate cancer sometimes when people speak out. The gentleman reached out. He says, behind the scenes, I've never told anyone, but I was diagnosed with prostate cancer 5 years ago. I just made a $10,000 donation to you because I've been looking for somehow way to give back to prostate cancer. So if I would say the biggest thing that you can do yourself is share your why, and most likely you're going to see people, you're going to have people come out of the woodworks on that they know someone. As we know, 1 in 8 men are diagnosed with prostate cancer. So we know that there's going to be people who are going to do it. They're going to have, or their father has had prostate cancer. They're going to share their story back with you. So listening to them is obviously going to help as well.
I was wondering.
I mean, and Greg, we can definitely set up a separate call. When we do the call, I'm happy to walk you through all the tips and tricks and all the different ways and see what you can, what you think would help work with you and get to know you a little bit more and understand your circle of influence as well too.
Okay. Okay.
Greg, I'll give you your first 100.
All right.
Are you making that offer to every one of us?
I had a question for Donovan.
Sure.
So I'm an asthmatic and I didn't know if there was any, I mean, I run and I just completed a 5K the other day actually. So I'm, it's pretty well controlled, but I didn't know with the altitude because I live in Indiana, which is also wickedly flat. I just don't have a lot of experience with altitude. I don't know if there's any like specialty training or anything that I should seek out before I try to do that.
So you do have half the oxygen at the top of Kilimanjaro that you do have at sea level. That said, we have had asthmatic people on our trips before. And as long as we always know where your inhaler is and your backup inhaler is, we're fine.
Okay, perfect.
And consult your doctor too.
Yes, I definitely do that.
I saw, Mark, you had a question earlier. Did you get to ask it? I saw you raise your hand and
Yeah,
then.
most people answered it. I mean, also about the medical team, I'm in remission at the time and, I still deal with a lot of issues. And I used to be a triathlete for many, many years before I got diagnosed at 47. And so I was concerned about the physical part of it to make sure that my doctors would give me approval. So do you also have that medical reassurance that you have clearance from your medical doctors? And also, is there medical staff that are on part of the team? Or if there is an emergency or something like that, you're getting the proper help that you need?
So yeah, so you will, in that scenario, everyone typically has to have a sign off from their doctor to come on this trip. A lot of trips we do have doctors, not all trips we do. A couple things I can tell you, and I've dealt with all sorts of scenarios on Kilimanjaro for years. There's a helicopter that we can call that can come up on Kilimanjaro and take people down quick. One of the largest hospitals in East Africa is at the base of Kilimanjaro. It's called Kilimanjaro Christian Medical Center. It's often staffed by expats as well. We have access to a private doctor. I can tell you generally what happens up there is people get altitude sickness and they have nausea and they don't feel good. And so usually what happens is once we get them back down, usually under 10,000 feet, they feel better. So those tend to be the core things. I don't know if we have a doctor yet or anything. The most scenarios that we've dealt with is based on experience. Obviously, our guides have experience in the mountain. and are trained by the American Red Cross in East Africa. But we don't always have doctors on the trips. That we do carry oxygen on the mountain, though. We do carry oxygen canisters on the mountain. And we've carried a lot of people down for various reasons. But again, the beauty of Kilimanjaro is we can get you down to the bottom and to care in a relatively, most of the time, in a relatively reasonable amount of time.
And just like everybody else said too, in Delaware, we're very flat, but we do have bridges. And at the gym, we have equipment. It's called a step mill. I don't know if you've seen those. It's actually climbing up steps.
Yep.
And I've seen guys, with the backpacks training, and
Yep.
I would definitely get a personal trainer and do personal training, that type of thing.
Yep, that's
So thank you.
what a lot of people do. And then the great thing is, honestly, you guys are going to all be there together, and you're going to have shared experiences, and you're going to be like, how in the hell are we going to climb up this mountain and do this?
Yeah.
This is absolutely crazy. And I have to be with you. I still do it, and it's absolutely crazy. Because the final night to the top and back down and doing a 12 to 16-hour hike, it's wild. But the beauty of Kilimanjaro is not only the mountain itself and that it's climbed, it's also the people in East Africa, the guys, the crews are super fun and helpful. And we can make sure we get to the top safely and down safely.
Yeah, my concern again is the altitude. I do 10-mile hikes during the month. That's not my concern, but it's at a flat, it's a 10-mile hike at 0 feet high. And I'm really worried about just carrying a backpack to simulate being at 15,000 to 20,000 feet.
Just get out and walk, and we can have that conversation. So,
okay.
And that's the one thing I want to also tell everyone is at the 3.5 day marker I showed you guys, where the red line meets the red line meets the green line. There's an emergency access road that if you're just not doing it, we can hike you back. We're gonna have a lot of guides that will hike you back, and we can actually drive a car up there and take you back down the mountain. So, and we've done it, and we do it. So
okay.
There's lots of different scenarios. So, and again, this is hiking, nothing technical. In the rare case that we need, we have snow at the top, and it wouldn't be in September. We have our own micro spikes that we would give you guys. No ice axes, no ropes. You're just walking every day on wide open trails. There's one spot with exposure, but people never fall down it. And it's a 2-hour hike that we're doing on our 4th morning called the Bronco Wall. And lots of people put stuff on YouTube, and it's all optical illusions. Don't worry about it. And if you decide to do it, I will show you what it's like. But again, this is just mainly hiking trails every day. And the last thing about Kilimanjaro I have to say is every day is unique. Every day is a different ecosystem. Your first day, you can see giraffes. When is the last hike you've been on where you can see a giraffe? There's lots of fun monkeys. All the monkeys sit in the canopy above our tent at night and wait for you to walk away and look for food that you may have left by your pack and run down and try to steal the food out of your pack or that. So we're constantly chasing monkeys away. All sorts of fun, oversized birds and insects and stuff on the first day that are a lot of fun to deal with the first day and the last day. Every day is totally different. So it's a lot of fun. Jurassic Park-like on the first day.
You recommend hiking poles?
Yes, you'll need trekking poles for sure. And we have them there. And the one thing too is, if you don't have a 10-degree sleeping bag, don't go out and buy one for a very nominal small fee. We have sleeping bags, trekking poles, all sorts of gear that you can rent if you'd like.
Is there specific gear that we do have to buy?
Well, we have a gear list, and you can see that gear list.
Okay.
Yeah, not too specific. You'll need a big duffel bag to put all your clothes in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions?
I think this gentleman, Ken, has a question.
I had looked into this. This has been a bucket list forever, and I've had health issues lately. But I've read a lot of things about the malaria medicine and the shots, and I know but part of the shots with live vaccine, I'll have to come off one of the medicines that I'm on, which is, what do you suggests about like the malaria medicine and what you take while you're there and that kind of things.
So there are no mosquitoes on Kilimanjaro. Once you get up on the mountain, there are no
Mhm.
mosquitoes. So the chances of you catching malaria on your first 2 days there or your last day there are pretty slim. I've had malaria, and I don't take any anti-malarial pills when I'm there. I think taking anti-malarial pills, taking Diamox, and throwing in whatever else you take, can kind of mix things up. So it's not really an issue. Take my 7-year-old parents there. I don't have them take anti-malarial drugs, so it's pretty fine. There's a handful of shots that you may or may not need, but general, you can just travel there these days.
Well, that's good. I just, there's some stuff. I'm on a anti-inflammatory because of RA, so I'm on methotrexate, which turns off my immune system. So that means when I looked at once before, my doctor said I'd have to come off of that for a little while to take the live vaccine of one of them or something. But that was a couple years ago, so I didn't know, but I've wanted to do this for
Yeah, and then the last thing too is with the base camp. You can, if you guys get all the way to the base camp, you don't have to go to the summit. Like, you can. People get worked up on summit night. You can get up to the base camp and make the decision that night. You know what I mean, and see how your body's feeling. And some people don't. Some people don't want to hike for up there in the middle of the night. So, but yeah,
I'm going the whole way.
Just don't pressure us.
All in.
Yeah.
Carry you. Any other questions tonight? Okay, well, again, my name's Donovan. You can reach out to us at Embark. We do this all the time. So if you want to have a private, separate conversation about any aspect of this, if you decide you're interested in also going on a safari, your family can come there afterwards. So your family can fly in and we actually pick them up at the airport and we bring them back to the hotel. They spend the night, and then when you hike off the mountain, we take them up to when you're walking off the trail and there's your wife or your husband or whatever. And we throw a big party at the end with all the porters and all the guides and all the stinky, sweaty men. And we throw a big barbecue and they get to experience that too, which is a lot of fun. So it's really a cultural fun part.
And where is the application form again?
I will send it. So Bob, it's on the website. There's a button on the website. There's one that says apply now. And so if you click on that button, but I am going to send a copy of this recording out in the morning to everyone who registered for the info session so that you can answer any questions. It'll have my email address again for you all. It'll have Brianna's email address, and it'll have, if you want to meet with Donovan separately, it'll have Donovan's email address. And if I will try to grab from Donovan this evening the training guide that he promised that we could share with you so that you could look through the training information in advance if there's questions that you have. And we can have a call. I mean, Brianna's available between the two of us. One of us can hop on the phone at any point to answer any questions that you guys might have. There'll be a little bit of a pause with the holiday, obviously, next Thursday. But we can get on the phone. I'm happy to talk to anyone tomorrow if there's specific questions you have or anything you want to walk through. I already promised my friend Greg that if he wants to walk through a whole fundraising coaching plan, we can do it tomorrow.
Hey, Donovan, there was a comment about Porter Tip. What does that look like? And is it a pool fund or how does that work?
Yes. Yeah, so there's obviously, depending upon the size of the group, if there's 10 of you guys or 20 of you guys, there's a lot of porters that kind of come in the mix. In general, depending upon the number of people, it's usually around $400 is usually what people bring to tip out all of the guys and things like that. Sometimes it's more and sometimes it's less. Again, it's just based on if you had a great experience on the mountain and you want the guy who carries the toilet, right? Kind of feel bad for him when you see him carrying the toilet. You use it usually twice a day. So could you give him an extra $10 or $5 or whatever? So in general, people bring $400 or $500 usually. It's a lot compared to other parts of the world, but it supports a massive economy of guys that you'll see how much hard work that they're doing carrying your gear up the mountain.
So it's not a pool. It's just you give the money to whoever you think is worthy.
No, it's a pool. It's a pool. And then we find whoever one of you has a background in accounting or a CFO and then we are like, okay, you're in charge of it. and then kind of break it up into categories. So seriously, it's like it's the most complex thing of you put 10 individuals together, tipping, it's already a weird thing, right? Or you already do too much in the United States. And now we all have to figure out how to divide, $5,000 between 70 men, right? It's complex, but you'll get through it. Trust me, you always get through it. The one thing I would like to point out too, is there is a link I just put in the chat. This is a gentleman who climbed with us. This is one of those 70-year-old gentlemen who had a quadruple bypass surgery, thought he was going to die, and ended up coming back and built his whole life around climbing Kilimanjaro. He's a wonderful human. Any of you plus 70-year-olds, if you want to talk to him, I'd highly recommend it because he can share with you everything that he did. He lived in Florida and he walked steps, and he talked to me every week for like 18 months about doing this, and he did it, and it changed his life. So make sure to take a look at that link before you do it. Anything else?
Any other last questions?
Well, it's nice meeting all of you. And again, I think we'll do probably a few more of these, and hopefully a few of you guys will sign up. The last thing I can say is Kilimanjaro will change your life. It is phenomenal. The people are phenomenal. And it's if you're looking for another cool life marker chapter, this is definitely it, and people will contribute. I guarantee it.
Thank you, Donovan. Thank you to all of you for joining. As I said, you guys will get it. Everyone will get an email in the morning that has all of the information from this evening. And any questions, just reach out and we will get calls set up to do one-on-ones with anyone who's interested in asking additional questions. Thank you to everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.